Okay, so this is just a quick 3D model expressing the new design. Kind of wanted you all to see it in 3D to hopefully have a better understanding of what I'm presenting and what the city is asking for. Um, First of all, you have to have a non-skid acceptable surface for parking. A lot of that's to be able to accommodate the handicap spaces that are people who are mobility impaired. Additionally, they asked for a sidewalk which runs to the extent of the parcel, which is kind of silly because it just runs right into the road. But this is what they're asking for per code. I'm not sure if this is going to create a problem because of the dimension. I think it's like 15 feet right now for the driveway because the sidewalk had to be, I believe, 5 foot wide. But that's what they're requiring. I have to have striping, the appropriate striping. So this is not just for ornamentation, but this is actually what they're asking for per code. So whatever you all use out here, ultimately as a building material, you need to be able to stripe the spaces, and at a minimum, at least for your ADA compliant spaces. These parking stops are also required, so will have to be installed. And then again, here's your little bike rack, which kind of makes no sense, but per code and the zoning, it's what's required. Now, some of the things that my thoughts at least, if this is going to be primarily a recreational field or a recreational use, and that you're hosting events, I would probably get rid of that basketball court. I don't see how it's really doing you any justice. And I think by putting a more substantial, spending the money and putting a more substantial structure, kind of at the heart of where the design is, you could probably ask for more money for the events. And then beginning to add some landscape just to make it look nicer. I think you would allow you all to charge more for the venues that you host. In the back, here's a trash can that's screened. Again, per requirement, I had it in the corner before, but I had to get out of the 100-foot buffer or separation. So I had to move it to this corner, and that was my answer to that. Now, as far as the stage is concerned, it is not allowable. And let me show you this 100-foot separation. So basically, this is going to be your 100-foot separation. So anything within that is not an acceptable use or is not allowable per the ordinance. So the stage area cannot be where it was previously. What I recommend is just allowing people to spend the money again on a nicer structure for kind of your primary usage area, and then just allowing temporary stages to be put up for concerts and so on and so forth. That way you kind of put it on the vendor or people are using the space, or maybe you charge more and just rent this out and have it set up just to avoid being hit by the planning commission and the city. That's my recommendation. So spend the money on this, on a more permanent structure that looks nice and kind of frames the space as you come in. And let me get rid of this buffer. And then just allow temporary stage to be put up in the back when you have events that warrant having a temporary stage. And then the concrete pad back here, ultimately, whatever you all end up doing with that. I left that there, but again, just to try to make this thing look more aesthetically pleasing, to ultimately be able to charge more for the venue is probably the direction that I would go in. If you decide to move the current stage into an acceptable area, outside of that 100-foot separation, a ramp still needs to be built onto it. So a construction detail needs to be created in order for this thing to pass. So it needs to be ADA compliant. So again, I would just nix the whole idea of the stage and just allow a temporary stage to be put up. And then on the plan, I would actually just make a note that stage is to be removed, the existing stage is to be removed. That's gonna have to be a decision you all have to make, obviously, but just for the sake of cost, I would recommend spending the money on something nice like this, some type of really nice overture that's more permanent and kind of anchors the site, as opposed to spending the money retrofitting and moving the old stage and building a ramp and paying for the CD to get that the construction document to be made to be submitted. I would just, again, spend my money on this. And this is not required right now, the pavilion. I did extend the concrete slab area. But again, if I was going to spend my money, I would probably go in this direction. And again, this plant material you see is not required. It's just me adding to the space to make it look more aesthetically pleasing, again, to be able to charge more for the rental. I would modify the signage too and make that nice, just to make it a more welcoming entry and really let people know what they're kind of rolling into and kind of setting the stage. I've also carved out a distinct area of lawn and allowed that other area to be naturalized. What I'm not depicting in here is the tree save areas, because it's pretty much vegetated anyway. But there are tree save areas here and here that are required that you will see reflected in the plan. Again, the things that I'm worried about getting hitbacks on right now, though they can't see this driveway, is how they're going to feel about the width reduction of this road and how this required sidewalk just kind of ends abruptly and really kind of makes no sense. But again, it's what's been required by code. I also shortened the spaces here. You had to have a 23-foot, I believe, setback that cars can pull back on, and we did not meet the requirement on the side, so I had to remove several of the spaces. And also, but at the same time, that allowed me to accommodate for the necessary pedestrian walkway. But you still have the required amount of spaces, so everything works. On the plan, I had initially envisioned this as being kind of a food truck parking area, and I think it still can be, but we're going to depict it and demark it on the plan as just being additional parking. But we would know that people can kind of pull up here and maybe pull up a barbecue pit or something like that. Or it can just act as additional parking for, compact or regular vehicles, anything that's not commercial. If we do use commercial, then they ask for a whole other slew of documents to be able to get that approved. So again, I would just take that away in the plan and just say this is additional regular parking, knowing that we can use it for something else in the future. Okay, so this is kind of the proposal that I'm putting forth and that I recommend. I'll let you look at the plans as well as when I send this over to you to kind of a better understanding, along with the corrections or the modifications that I've made or responses to the comments made by the reviewers. So yeah, give me a call after you have had time to kind of look at this and think about it a little bit, and let me know what direction you want to move in. All right, bye.